How's it going, tour operators, and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about how to do SEO for brand new websites. All right. SEO is search engine optimization, and it is the process of making sure that you are positioned and optimized correctly for the right keywords and the proper structure, and that you're showing up at the top of Google search results. Now, today I'm going to be using a live website, but we are rebuilding it from scratch into a brand new website. But the domain already exists and the business already exists. Redoing the website. Now, this has been coming up a lot in many of the conversations I've been having with tour operators. Some of them have just launched new websites and have seen their Google search positions, their rankings drop significantly. And I actually have been seeing it for several of the ITA members because we've been tracking their rankings for the link exchange. And what I'm seeing is that because SEO is not taken into consideration during the rebuild, you could hurt your rankings quite a bit, like significantly. Like you were getting leads one day and then the next day you get no leads, kind of thing. So it's super important to take this into consideration. I'm going to show you the process. It's a 3-step process and it's pretty straightforward. And if you do it, it's not going to be perfect. There's always room to improve, I guarantee it. But if you follow this process, you will 100% improve on what you currently have, and you will definitely increase your chances of showing up at the top of search results. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and a lot of what I'm going to do today, like the presentation that I have to share with you is only like 3 or 4 slides. So the majority of what we're going to be covering is actually going to be me going into this process and showing you step by step how I put all the pieces together so that you can have the right structure to optimize your site. Okay, so I'm actually going to be doing this step by step. If you follow this process, you will 100% improve on what you currently have, and you will definitely increase your chances of showing up at the top of search results. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and a lot of what I'm going to do today, like the presentation that I have to share with you is only like 3 or 4 slides. So the majority of what we're going to be covering is actually going to be me going into this process and showing you step by step how I put all the pieces together so that you can have the right structure to optimize your site. Okay, so I'm actually going to be doing this step by step. You're welcome to follow along. You can even pause the video at certain times and come back and do it as I go, as I present it. And if not, you can always come back and watch it again later. All right, so let's share my screen. And I hope that you can see that. All right. So how do we do SEO for a new tourism website? It's a simple 3-step process. The first thing we need to do is identify what is the MVC, what is the most valuable content. Essentially, what is the topic? What is the keyword topic we're going to go after, right? The second thing is the supporting content wheel. Essentially, it's, if you think about it as like a wheel, right? Like a bicycle wheel. It's got the middle, the hub, right? And it's got all these spokes that go off, right? So how do we create this wheel? And then how do we create the content outline that supports this optimization that we are trying to do? And how do we properly signal to search engines that they need to index us and they need to show us to the top? Okay. So let's start with the most valuable content. All right. In this particular case, what we need to do is decide which primary keyword group or topic we need to optimize for. Okay. Now, the way that you would generate some of these ideas, most likely a really simple way to do this would be to do product category, put your product category in here, and then the location that you're in. And then product category may have a couple different versions, right? You can essentially, let's just say, for instance, the one that we'll be working on today is they do boat trips and boat tours. So here's two that I already mentioned: boat trips, boat tours, boat rentals, boat charters, motorboat tours, right? Like these are all these are different product categories. And then you have the location. And in this particular case, it's in Key West. So this may also have variations depending on how thin you want to get into your regionality. So meaning is like, do you zoom in or zoom out of the map? So if you're zoomed in on the map, in this particular case, it could be Key West. And if you zoom out a little bit, it's South Florida. And if you zoom out even further, it's Florida. And then if you zoom out even further, it's United States, right? Or Southern United States. So you have these layers, and those are kind of the way that you would think about your location as well. If your location is very popular, then you may want to just optimize for a specific region, like Key West. Key West is like one city, it's like a chain of islands that are like the Keys, right? And so that's a very, very localized area. And so what we're going to find out is if there's enough demand, right? If enough people are looking for this product category in this location, and we're going to zoom in and zoom out of that, right? The other way you can do that is by looking at competitor sites. So you look at a competitor that does almost exactly the same thing that you do, and then you plug it in to a keyword tool that I'm going to show you, and it'll tell you what keywords they rank for. Another example could be going to TripAdvisor for the category that you're in and seeing what keywords they rank for as well. This will kind of give you some insights and help you quickly understand what kind of keywords are out there and how you can compete. All right. So let's do this. We're going to go and generate some ideas. So the first is going to be product category. So I mentioned there's boat rentals, boat tours, boat trips, right? I'm not gonna optimize it too much. We're at Key West. This is like a pretty straightforward exercise. Now let's do South Florida. I'm gonna do Florida. We'll also do the Keys because that's something that happens often. All right. Then we're gonna do something really easy. We're gonna do it's called a keyword mixer. And it's a really simple little keyword mixer. It doesn't really matter. They all do pretty much the same thing. And you just take one list and you put it, you put it in here. And then you take a second list and you put it in here. All right, you click on merge and boom, it merges all of those for you. So you can take all of these and you copy these. Now I'm going to be using today a tool called Keywords Explorer. All right, Keywords Explorer is coming from Ahrefs. This subscription costs about $100 a month. If you're most likely building a website, then you may not need it every month, but you may need it one time. So I highly recommend this tool. There are other tools as well, like Keywords Everywhere, which I think is like $5, $10 to get started. It's really inexpensive, but it has a different workflow. And if you need to learn how to use that, that's a separate video that I'm not going to go over in this one. Keyword research can be done in a lot of different ways. I'm just going to show you how I do it and the tools that I use. All right, so here's the keywords that I'm looking for, and I want to find them in the United States. And I'm looking at Google. So I'm just going to click on search for this guy. And I can see right away that boat rentals in Key West is 150 volume. Boat rentals in Florida has 100 volume. Boat tours in Key West has a 90 volume. All right. And it helps me understand what is being searched for. So compare that to boat trips in South Florida, 0 to 10. It's almost no traffic. Almost no one is searching using those words. That's all we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out what words do people use to search for the thing that I have to offer them, right? Now, boat rentals and boat tours are the same in some places, but different in others. You got to kind of use your best judgment. I put this in here as an example. The example is that a boat rental in Key West. So I'll give you an example here. boat rentals in Key West. If I look at the search results, so I'm going to open up the SERPs. This will show me specifically what pages are currently ranking for this term, boat rentals Key West. And you'll see here the Fury Cat has boat rentals, Key West boat rentals. So if I open these, you'll notice that these guys are essentially actually renting boats. And this particular project we're working on is Key West Boat Tours. It's a chartered boat tour with a captain. The captain takes people out, he cooks them food, there's a whole thing. So a boat rental is like a self-service product, and a boat tour or a boat trip is a managed product or service, right? So in this particular case, we probably wouldn't want to make our primary topic, our primary MVC around the rental category, right? We most likely want to put it around the boat tour category. So here's boat tours in Key West. And if we look at these search results, what's interesting too is that boat tours has it says higher competition than boat rentals, which I think is funny. Interesting. All right, so boat tours in Key West. So what we're looking at here are the search results that are for boat tours. Now, if we open up some of these sites, this is still boat rentals. Sorry. All right, so this is the glass bottom boat. This is for a tour. So this is one of the tours that are available in Key West. It's a glass bottom boat. TripAdvisor comes up, and so they're showing you all the different boat tours, fishing tours, danger charters. All right, so there's a bunch of them here. Viator, which is the exact same thing. Don't you love now, by the way, that Viator split from TripAdvisor, but now they're they both end up taking the top positions in Google. Smart. So this is another one where they have a bunch of different tours here. All right. And then we got the 12 best Key West tours. All right. So lots of cool tours here. So what I'm essentially finding in this is that this is much more topical. This is much more relevant for what we're trying to do, which is Key West boat tours, right? Boat trips and boat tours. Those are very similar in topic, and they can be almost interchangeable. Boat tour and boat trip. But in this case, boat rental means something else. All right. So this was one way that I showed you how to do it, is you essentially just use the keyword mixer. You put together your category, and you put your location, and then you find out how people are searching for that product or service. And we figured it out. We figured out that Key West Boat Tours has the highest volume. And one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was keyword volume. I'll talk about the competitive insights too that we'll get into. But let me chat real quick to you about keyword volume and commercial viability. Okay. The MVC formula is it has high volume. Now, high volume, I mean by relatively high volume. This is obviously much higher than this. So this is a relatively high volume. It has a relatively high CPC, cost per click, higher than others. This will essentially tell you that there is a viability there's a commercial viability, meaning that oftentimes people are willing to pay more for those clicks because they're more likely to buy something, right? If they were informational in nature, or if somebody wasn't willing to buy something, the cost per click would typically be lower because there's less commercial viability, right? For instance, if you were to search for like things to do in Florida, I'm guessing, so I don't know if it's going to work or not, but yeah, so here's a perfect example. The cost per click is $1.80. It's one of the lowest ones on this entire list. It has more volume, right? But things to do in Florida is a very high level commercial viability, a very high level informational intent. I'm not going to talk about intent too much in this presentation. But what you need to know essentially is if it has a higher CPC, that means people are more willing to actually buy something at the end of that process, right? If they click on it, it's clearly that they're more likely to buy. So high commercial viability has high volume, and it matches what you're trying to do. So that's essentially your MVC formula, and that's how you determine what primary topic to go after. All right, let me show you how to do the reverse search. So in this particular case, if I were to do, so if I didn't know that I was going after boat tours in Key West, I could type in boat trips Key West, because that's essentially what we think is the right one to go after. Now, if we open the first result, boat tours and water sports in Key West, and we go to this page, see we typed in boat trips, right? We typed in boat trips into Google, and the very first result, oh, that's weird. The very first result right here is TripAdvisor. Now, of course, there's a maps pack, and that's a whole other thing that we're not going to talk about. But right here, the first result is TripAdvisor. So we're going to click on this. We're going to take this URL, and we are going to put it in something called Site Explorer. And we're essentially going to see, what does this page rank for? All the keywords that it ranks for. So we're going to use this Organic Keywords 2.0 tool. And in the US, this particular page ranks for these 71 keywords. And it should be loading here any second. Okay. So here's what we found, is that this page, which is number 1 for Key West boat trips, is also in the first position for Key West boat tours and Key West boat trips and Key West boat rides and boat tours Key West, water sport in Key West, boat tour Key West. So you can see that this particular page is very topical. By the way, water sport in Key West are ranked 6th, right? So not first. And I'm sure actually if you looked at what water sports in Key West is, there's probably a different TripAdvisor page that ranks for that one more so than this one does. But there's some overlap, right? So it thinks that they should be grouped together. Anyway, the reason why you kind of want to use like a site like TripAdvisor is because they're really, really good at SEO. I mean, these guys are essentially they spend millions of dollars for dedicated teams to figure out how to rank their pages at the top of Google search results. And they successfully do that, right? That's like their entire strategy is SEO. So when you use this for the reverse search, it can bring up a lot of great insights around what kind of keywords you can go after. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to jot some of these down, because I can see here that boat tours Key West has 90 searches. Key West boat rides is 150. This is pretty impressive, because Key West boat trips and boat rides, although different, will probably bring up very similar results. And so you've essentially, if you can incorporate both of these keywords into your page, then you've essentially doubled your potential reach, because you can probably rank for both of these, not just one. Now, the same thing with tours. So you have tours, trips, and rides. All three of these are very relevant to the website we're working on, which is keywestboattrips.com. All right. So I'm going to jot these down so I don't forget them. So what's interesting about that, Key West, yeah. So it's funny. This is how people describe this. Check this out. So this is really, really fascinating, and why it's important to use tools like this. Boat tours in Key West and Boat Tours Key West FL, right, which is Florida, both have 40 and 40. Slightly different spelling, or like the way that people actually like type them in. But these, look, have 200, 150, and 150. However, the way that you write the copy on the page could encapsulate some of these keywords. And I'll show you how to do content outlines later. But when you encapsulate all of these keywords, you're essentially optimizing for all of them. And then you can probably rank for all of them, right? And you can show up for all of them, meaning that you're not just going to get traffic from one keyword, you're going to get traffic from multiple variations of that search phrase. Okay, now that we've written down the keywords that we want to go after, we've got Key West, boat tours, trips, and rides. Our next step, so we've gotten through generating ideas, we've gotten through competitive insights through reverse searches. And by the way, even if it's not TripAdvisor, you can still even look at a competitor site, right? Whatever you do, just type in the thing that you're looking for, and it'll show you, like, here's a Fury Cat example and Viator. Let's open up tours long. So this is very specific around Key West tours, cruises, and sailing. So let's see what keywords this brings up. I mean, you can do this as many times as you want to, right? Because out of curiosity, these might be really useful to understand. So look at that. So Key West boat tours, Key West catamaran tours. That's something that did not come up before for TripAdvisor. These guys are ranking #1 for that one. But probably because this is less water sports. Like TripAdvisor was doing water sports and boat tours, and then Viator is doing boat tours and cruises. So I think you'll probably see here like Key West boat cruise. Exactly. See, Key West sailing trips. Key West. Yeah, so sailing now you're getting more of that. Key West boat trips, cruising Key West. So some of these are good. So you want to essentially like start picking out some of the keywords that are relevant for you, right? I mean, we do not have a catamaran, right, that we're optimizing for right now. So that would not be a good keyword for us. But a cruise in Key West might be. So let's just say I wanted to look into what are the search results for this cruise. Key West boat cruises, Key West sunset cruise, with live music. So I'm guessing these are going to be bigger boats. Yeah, see, like they're bigger boats. They've got the dinner thing on there. So this might be something that we optimize for, but it's definitely not one of the primary things that we need to optimize for. But it is definitely an option, maybe further down the road. All right, so that we got the cruise in there, and then let's see what this one, glass bottom boat. I bet this one's going to have a lot of glass bottom boat keywords. Yeah. Glass bottom boat, Key West, 450 searches. Key West glass bottom boat, 250. Yep. This must be like their unique angle, their unique value proposition is the glass bottom boat, because there's a lot of people searching for the glass bottom boats. Okay, so we've looked at a few competitors now. And we're better understanding what these pages are ranking for. And I think that the ones that we've come up with so far, Key West boat trips, tours, and rides, are probably going to be some of our best bets. Right? They're most topical. They have volume. They have high commercial viability. These are probably going to work best for us. All right, so we're going to go back to here. So keyword volume, commercial viability. Now, can you compete? So what we need to find out now is, are we going to be able to actually show up for these keywords that we're going after, right? If you remember, I was showing you that they had different, so this is a very unique thing to only Ahrefs. I think a couple other tools do this as well. I don't think you're going to get it from Keywords Everywhere. I think you do get it from like Neil Patel's keyword tool. So you can see that the keyword difficulty is pretty similar, 22, 22, and 22. All right. If we open one of these and we look at Key West Boat Tours, we will see that it gives us a keyword difficulty score of 22. What this essentially is saying is that, like, this is Ahrefs' own difficulty ranking that it has. It's a proprietary algorithm that does this calculation. So it says that we need to about 24 links to rank in the top 10 for this keyword. And if we scroll down, we can tell pretty quickly who's ranking and if it's possible for us to rank. Now, this presentation is specifically for tour operators, not so if you're on day trips or multi-day trips, then this is good. But if you are running like a regional OTA or a mini OTA and you sell a bunch of different tours, the strategy is really going to be a little bit different for you. I mean, you're still going to need an MVC. You still need to figure out, like, is it like for instance, if you're in Key West, you would still be like Key West tours, right? And that would be like your higher level, and then within that you would have your like mini components. But we're talking purely for tour operators right now and for travel companies. So if you're a tour operator or a travel company and you want to optimize for a specific service that you're offering, this is what you'll see typically. Is you'll see TripAdvisor and Viator towards the top, and you'll see that they have, this is called domain ranking, a very high domain ranking, meaning that they are just very powerful and authoritative domains. TripAdvisor.com in and of itself is very powerful. However, you will notice that they only have, for this particular page, 10 backlinks from 9 domains, and Viator has 9 backlinks from 9 domains, and that their URL rating is only 19 and 18. Okay, this is why you have Glass Bottom from FuryCat here, which has a much lower domain ranking, still showing up in the 3rd position here, but with a much higher URL ranking, because they're much more targeted, right? TripAdvisor is doing everything, Viator is doing everything, FuryCat is doing just boat and water sports in Florida, right? They're a Florida company. So they're able to compete with these larger players because they're much more targeted, and this individual topic they're going after, they can still have as much authority as one of the big guys because they have 200 backlinks across 90 domains pointing to specifically this for this page. Okay. Now, FuryCat obviously is ranking here. You can see that their site has 53. This is their homepage, and they have a lot more. See how much value, how much backlinks and domains they've built up for these guys, for these 2 URLs. Dry Tortugas is a similar scenario, 54 in domain rating, 19 in URL rating, and have 14 and 13 links. Now, this is why Ahrefs is telling us that we need backlinks from approximately 24 websites in order to rank in the top. So if our content is well written, and if we're properly doing on-page optimization, links are a very, very important, super important indicator. It's one of the only real leading indicators for how well you're going to rank is whether or not you have powerful links coming into your page. Okay, so you can see here, like this guy TripShock, they're ranking with only 9 links. US Travel News is ranking with only 2 links. Like both of these would be relatively easy to unseat. This one too, only 32 links, right? So if you have a site and you're trying to rank for Key West boat tours, and you have good on-site SEO, if you can get approximately 22 links, you can break into the top 10. And I think that if you can get probably approximately, 30 to 40, you can probably break into the top 5. All right. So let's see Key West boat tours and attractions. So like, see how like by the 10th position here, we're already actually deviating from boat tours, right? So like this is like actually says in the title, top 20 QS boat tours, but then here you're already, even in the title doesn't even have boat tours in it anymore. So if you have a product that is boat tours and your website is optimized for boat tours, you could probably get into the top 10 pretty easily here. All right. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to find out what is the authority and how many links does the website that we're working with have. So what we're going to do is open this up, go to Site Explorer, and we're going to type in keywestboattrips.com. All right, so this is the site that we're optimizing, that we're rebuilding, and we're doing SEO as part of the foundational component of this rebuild. And what you'll notice is that this has 11 referring domains, 85 backlinks, and has a domain rating of 20. So if we go back and we look at how this site, how these other pages stack up, you'll notice that like this domain rating is 8, very low. This has had a domain rating of 20. All right, this domain rating is 73. And 9 and 6 links. So it's very possible that we actually, with the proper on-site optimization, could probably sneak into the top, probably somewhere between the 5th and 10th position. Okay, because we have as many backlinks and from domains as some of these guys do, right? And we can essentially match them on URL and domain ratings. Okay, now these is up to 54, but look at the URL rating, right? 19. If I look at this, my URL rating is 18. All right, so that's kind of the way you look at it. You essentially, you want to look at the kind of overall authority of the domain so you can get a sense for how authoritative the sites are. Like for instance, if all of these were Wikipedia links, that would be difficult to compete with, right? Or if every single one of these were TripAdvisor links, that would be difficult to compete with. But you can see that there's other sites in here that are clearly not as powerful as ours. We have a more powerful site in a lot of cases, and certainly once we optimize it, it's going to be a lot more relevant. So it's going to be relevant and powerful. All right. So that's essentially how you decided whether or not you can compete. So we typed in Key West Boat Tours. Let's try trips, right? Because we're looking at 3. And if we look at Key West Boat Trips, we're seeing some variance, but not too much. You know, what's funny is that he's already ranking here in the top 10. Key West Paddle Sports here. His URL is keywestboattrips.com, right? And his domain rating is 19, URL rating 18. And so because of these statistics and because of this exact match domain, he's already ranking in the top 10. Exact match domains are actually still working really well in travel for some reason. I don't know why. Probably because so many travel companies decide to call their companies the thing that they offer, which I think is fun. Is great. So this is great because if we're already ranking in the top 10, that means, and like look at this, right? So the title is not optimized. It doesn't say anything about boat trips or boat tours in the title, right? The only reason he has this ranking is because he's got this URL that matches. But this is fantastic because if you're in the top 10, it's much easier to move up already, right? And then let's always also look at the last one, which was Key West Boat. What was it again? Rides. And we'll see what the SERPs have to say. By the way, SERPs stands for Search Engine Ranking Page. Or no, Search Engine Results Page. A lot of the similar stuff that we're seeing. Yeah. So essentially what this tells us is that we can probably optimize for all 3 of those terms and get similar results, right? So that'll be kind of the way that we bundle this. It'll be bundled under Key West Boat Tours, Trips, and Rides, right? All right, so Can we compete? We can't compete. We can compete even with what he has today as far as a backlink profile and his domain authority. So his domain authority rating is 20, and his URL authority or rating is 18. So this is great. And what happens if you can't? If you, let's just say, for instance, you're launching a brand new website and you have no authority whatsoever, you need to build links. Like that's like the number one thing that will differentiate you from every other tour operator out there, every other travel company, is whoever essentially has the most authority will win. I mean, that's why TripAdvisor is winning. That's why Viator is winning, because they're just massive sites. Same thing as like Amazon. Like when you type in for a product on Amazon, why does Amazon come up? Because every single website on the planet links to Amazon, and it's so authoritative that every product ranks, right? And of course they do a very good job of optimizing all of their pages for search. But I will guarantee you that, like, even the example that we went through here, like, this is not like, these guys are not doing any link building. Like a couple of like 9-6 links, 30 links, 2 or 1 links, like, even this is just weak. It's just weak. This is not a competitive space. So if you even do put like a mediocre effort in to do proper link building, you can outrank most people in the industry for most of the important keywords that you're going after. I mean, to give you a comparison of, like, Key West boat rides versus, so if you type in keyword research into your search browser, right? This is what it means when it's like it becomes a really difficult thing to rank for, right? When you need to get links from 1,000 websites to rank in the top 10. And if you look at these, like, these are SEO companies that do probably SEO products or services. And this is how, when they rank, right? These numbers are insane. I mean, like, it's really hard to get 4,000 backlinks, 70,000 backlinks, 4,000 backlinks. And competing with these guys is like close to impossible if you're starting from scratch, right? And that's why when I'm talking about, like, this is a 22 medium and we're talking about building like 20 or 30 links to your site, if you were to pay retail prices, there are services out there that specialize in doing very like white hat, like powerful backlinks. So you just pay them per backlink. You just go to them and you say, I need 15 backlinks, or I need 20 backlinks. These backlinks retail, like a good strong backlink will retail between $100 and $200 per link. Okay. So if you want to do like a mediocre job and you wanted to, say, get 30 backlinks and you wanted to just pay retail for it, by the way, there are other ways to do it. You don't have to pay retail. But let's just say that was the case. You would pay somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. And if you were like, you knew that your business, every time that you got a new client, it was worth $500 to you, right? And you could essentially do like link building one time, get into the top 10, and just start funneling customers to you for free. That's a perpetual machine that will just continue to send you customers. And it'll cost you $3,000 to $6,000 of investment to do link building for it, right? Don't discount the power of SEO. Like, this is like really, really powerful stuff. So can you compete? That's how you compete. What is Google expecting? Search intent. So we should talk about, essentially, now that we have decided on the kind of MVC, on the keywords that we want to go after, right? We decided to go after Key West boat trips, tours, and rides. Okay. We now need to figure out, well, what kind of content are people expecting when they type that in? Now, there's a really easy way to do this. There's a whole like theoretical aspect to this where we can go very deep down into the research and theory of it, which essentially says that, like, you need to make sure that you're matching the thing that people are searching for with the thing that they receive. Okay. So in this particular case, when somebody searches for Key West boat rides. We're going to do Key West boat trips because that's the like primary one that we're going to go after. So if we want to do after Key West boat trips, we will notice that these are the search results that Google is showing for Key West boat trips in the United States. Now, if I wanted to look at different countries, I could do that as well, right? If you have customers that are typically international, like for instance, I have a business in Spain, and a lot of my customers come from the UK. 60% of my customers come from the UK. I would optimize for the search results that people are seeing in the UK, as opposed to optimizing for the results they see in Germany, right? Two different strategies there, right? So for in this particular case in the United States, I can see that the number one result is the TripAdvisor's 10 best Key West boat rides, top 10 Key West boat cruises and sailing and water tours, Key West glass bottom boat tours, Key West snorkeling, parasailing, top 10 Key West boat trips and excursions, the 12 best Key West tours. I don't know if you're getting like seeing a particular pattern here, but the pattern that we're seeing here is that these are lists and they give you many tours to pick from, right? And if you're kind of like seeing this, right? So like for instance, it would be poor judgment in this particular case to think, oh, I can just put a website with one product on it and that's going to rank just fine and compete with these other sites. And the reason for that is because search intent is very important, and that's all Google cares about. They care only about one thing, and that is delivering the right result to the right person at the right time for the right search query. That's the only reason people keep coming back to Google, because they're trying to reduce the amount of effort it takes for somebody to find the thing that they're looking for. So when you are trying to optimize for a certain keyword and your MVC is Key West boat trips, when you think about what needs to go on your website or on your page, you need to think about, how do I compete with the existing search results page, with the existing results that show up for when people search for these things? So in this particular case, because we know that there's like reviews, top 20 things to do, you can see these are all lists. What we might want to do for the home page of keywestboattrips.com is to show people a list of boat trips. Okay? That's all search intent is. And that's the only thing that you need to take away from this, is that you need to create the kind of content that people are most likely looking for. And the only way to do that is by looking at the search results that you're competing with to understand what that looks like. So if all of these were, by the way, blog posts, then I would say that might be different, right? And you'll see how we do this later on in different sessions. So what is Google expecting? That's the search intent, right? So this is the MVC. And what we found out, we're gonna just copy a few of these search results so that we can save them and we know what we're competing against. So let me just save that real quick. And if you remember, when we looked at boat tours, boat rides, they all had similar lists. They were all top lists. Okay, so now that I realize how long this first section was, I'm actually going to take a break here and put a bow on this first part. What we essentially went through just now was identifying your most valuable content, to decide which primary keyword or group topic to optimize for, how to generate ideas, how to get competitive insights through the reverse search, how to do keyword volume and commercial viability, figuring out if you can compete, and then what Google is expecting essentially with search intent. All of these are really important. And in the next video, we are going to cover how to create the supporting wheel of content.